Indianapolis as the RCA Dome continues to fill up for the Colts and the Eagles on Sunday Night Football.
We've been waiting all day for this.
Take care of the ball and dominate, man. Everything you got, you leave it on the field. All in on three. 1, 2, 3, all in.
All right, Sunday night, where are you? Just kicking back from the things that you do. You want the big game, we want it too. Hey, Jack, it's a fact, the best show in town. The Eagles and the Colts are gonna throw down. Alan John will make you crank up the sound. The NFL's best have come to play. For every fan, there's just one thing left to say. I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. The tough get rough in a primetime fight. The last one standing gets to turn out the lights. 'Cause I've been waiting all day for Sunday night.
And the pass, it's caught. Touchdown.
I tell you, this guy is something special.
Westbrook, and he'll score. And is intercepted by Brian Dawkins.
Sunday night football on NBC. The only game that you have to see. Don't need a ticket, all you need's a TV. 'Cause the NFL rocks on NBC.
The RCA Dome in Indianapolis is the smallest stadium in the league. Capacity 55,000, but at times it can be the noisiest. And that's the way it is right now as the Indianapolis Colts come out onto the field ready to face Jeff Garcia and the Philadelphia Eagles on NBC's Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels along with John Madden and Andrew Kramer. Welcome to Indianapolis. And that's right, Jeff Garcia is the quarterback of the Eagles because, as you know, Donovan McNabb tore his ACL last week, will have surgery, and is done for the season. Garcia went to 3 Pro Bowls as a San Francisco 49er. This team started the season 4-1. Now they've lost 4 of their last 5. They come in at 500. Can they make the playoffs? It'll be tough, but it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Just ask the New York Giants. Now, as far as Indianapolis is concerned, there'll be no talk this year about an undefeated season. They were 9-0 going into last week's game, but turned the ball over 4 times and lost to the Cowboys. So no undefeated season, but their legacy will be determined in January, and they hope February, which would mean their first trip to the Super Bowl. John, a year ago, there was no doubt the Colts were the best team in the league at the end of November. 10-0, blowing people out. Now they're 9-1, eking out some victories. How do they stack up in your mind with last year?
You know, they stack up very well with last year. I still think they're the best team in the AFC, and they're playing that way. And maybe eking out these victories is starting to help them a little. And I know that they have an average defense, but their offense is so strong. I mean, anytime you put Peyton Manning out there in the field, Marvin Harrison on one side, Reggie Wayne on the other side, Dallas Clark in the slot, you're going to score points. And I think they have enough of that they can overcome any obstacle.
On the other side now, Philadelphia. The knee-jerk reaction with McNabb going out and losing to Tennessee last week is they're done. They're cooked. But we know we've seen crazier things happen. What will the Eagles have to do to get into the playoffs?
Well, we know that Jeff Garcia isn't going to come in and beat Donovan McNabb. And as Andy Reid says, everyone has to step up. I mean, it's not about Jeff Garcia, but it's about the running backs. It's about the wide receivers. It's about the offensive line. It's about catching the ball on offense. It's about the defense. It's tackling. Everyone has to step up, get turnovers, not give them, do all those things that a good team does.
And that defense in particular will have to play very well tonight. You come in here, there's one constant, making his 139th consecutive start. Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts against the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. In November, you can count on an injury report. It's that time of year. A lot to talk about tonight. In that regard, let's go to the field. Check in with Andrea Kramer. How are you, Andrea?
Good evening, Al. Well, the Colts are without 2 defensive starters. Safety Bob Sanders, the key to their run defense, and linebacker Gilbert Gardner. Now, as for the Eagles, I spoke to Donovan McNabb this afternoon. He'll fly to Alabama tomorrow, and if the swelling in his knee is down sufficiently Unfortunately, he'll have surgery on Tuesday. In an eerie coincidence, a year to the day that he underwent hernia surgery. So McNabb sits at his home in New Jersey tonight, watching the game, and I'd venture to say his leg is elevated and on ice.
And the Philadelphia Eagles hopeful that Donovan can get back on the shorter end of what they're calling an 8 to 12-month recovery period. David Akers to kick off for the Philadelphia Eagles. And back to receive will be Terrence Wilkins. And I mentioned the Giants at the top of the show. If you're just getting home and haven't been following what's been going on in the NFL today, among the things that have happened, the Giants led Tennessee 21-0 and lost 24-21. So Dallas on top alone in the NFC East. Philadelphia with a victory, an upset win here, would be a game back of the Cowboys. And here we go from the Indiana State Capitol. Akers to the 4-yard line. This is Terrence Wilkins. And Wilkins gets taken down and then loses the ball. It popped loose. And the Eagles come in, but the play had been whistled dead at the 21-yard line. That's Torrance Daniels making his first ever NFL appearance, a rookie from Harding University in Arkansas, the first guy ever from Harding to play in the NFL, and he's in on the action right off the bat.
There he is, number 50, and if you're going to have your first one, you might as well make it a good one, huh?
Almost created a fumble, but down by contact is the call. So an impressive NFL start for the only guy in history to play in the NFL from Harding, the school of the one-time Dodger pitcher Preacher Rowe about 1 million years ago. Off to the right side on first down goes Dominique Rhodes, who gets the start. We'll see a lot of Joseph Adai, the rookie from LSU. Peyton Manning, start number 139, as we mentioned. He started the first game in his rookie season and has never missed a start.
You know, the interesting thing here, Al, the Philadelphia Eagles are starting in nickel defense, and they're playing first and second down in nickel because they know that they can't substitute because of the quick huddle, the quick no count. That's what the Colts take away from you. Second down and 7, and that pass is not caught. It was dropped. It's incomplete. Ben Utek dropping it. Third down quickly. The Colts offense.
Peyton Manning, Tennessee.
Dominique Rhodes, Midwestern State University.
Marvin Harrison, Syracuse.
Reggie Wayne, the U. Dallas Clark, University of Iowa.
Ben Utek, Minnesota.
Hart Gwynn, Cal.
Ryan Lilja, Kansas State.
Jeff Saturday, North Carolina.
Jake Scott, University of Idaho.
Ryan Dean, Northern Illinois.
Now out of the shotgun, 3rd and 7. Both running backs are in the game. Rhodes and Adai flanking Manning, who sends Wayne in motion. And Peyton looks that way and goes to Reggie Wayne from the U, meaning the University of Miami. And that's the first down at the 41-yard line. A 3rd and 7 conversion. Sean Considine and Jeremiah Trotter make the stop.
Right, and you see Sheldon Brown was right there, and Peyton Manning can just put the ball where he wants to. I mean, you see how they have a kind of a stack thing, and you got, you know, the outside guy going up, Reggie Wayne going on the out. And watch where Peyton Manning put the ball. He put the ball on the outside shoulder where the defender couldn't get to it, and only his guy could get it.
Gain of 17, ball at the 41-yard line. The fake to Rhodes. Manning with a ton of time off the play fake into the outside, and that's Wayne. And it's pretty simple. You've got Wayne always lining up left, Harrison right. Let's see the Philadelphia defensive starters.
Trent Cole, University of Cincinnati. Mike Patterson, University of Southern California.
Darwin Walker, University of Tennessee.
Darren Howard, Kansas State. Dahani Jones, the University of Michigan.
Jeremiah Trotter, student at Boston State University.
Matt McCoy, San Diego State.
Lito Shepard, University of Florida.
Brian Dawkins, Clemson.
Sean Considine, Iowa.
Sheldon Brown, University of South Carolina.
Considine taken over a few weeks ago from Michael Lewis, who now plays in the dime. And this is Rhodes taking the ball to the 43. And John, we see Rhodes starting, but more and more Joseph Adai is becoming the primary back for Tony Dungy's team.
Yeah, because he's really a better runner, and it's something that what they'll do is they'll get Adai in there on short yardage goal line and also in the red zone. And it's usually the opposite. You know, they usually like the rookie young running back in this area of the field, and then the closer you get to the goal line, the more you like that veteran back.
Second down and 4 now on the opening drive from the 42. Eagles show blitz. They run the stretch play out of the backfield to Rhodes, and Rhodes gets taken down, and he picks up a first down at the 38-yard line. Dawkins in on the tackle. It'll be a milestone evening, 139 games to reach 3,000. That pass completion to Wayne was the 3,000th of his career. Fewest attempts to get there, and he's the youngest guy to get there.
Here again, we look, the Eagles are in their nickel defense, and you see it's first down. Usually this is a third down defense, but because of the no huddle, you can't substitute your defense. So if you want to play nickel on third down, you have to get into it on first down.
Manning in the pocket, found a comfort zone there, and that'll be a 13-yard gain on the pass to Dominique Rhodes out of the backfield. And Jim Johnson is one of the very best defensive coordinators. Well, he knows he's got his hands full along with his unit tonight. Matt McCoy in on the last tackle.
And the thing about, you know, Peyton Manning, when you play him, there's a couple things you always say. We have to get to him, we have to hit him, we have to put him on the ground, we have to keep him out of rhythm. Peyton Manning is now in a pretty good rhythm.
Easier said than done.
Right, that's the thing. I mean, you know the formula. You know, get to him, be physical on the outside receivers, but you don't always have the guys to do it.
Dallas was able to pull it off last week. Now the rookie, Adai, will pick up 9 yards. He was their #1 draft choice, and the big offseason news here in Indianapolis was they let Edgerrin James go. He went to Arizona. Adai gets picked #1, and he might be an emerging star.
And, you know, I think the Colts realize that what the Eagles are doing, playing them with nickel, that means you have one more defensive back or smaller guy out there and one less linebacker. And the way to get him out of that is to run at him, and that's exactly what the Colts are starting to do now.
Second down and 1. The ball is at the 16-yard line. Adai to the left side this time. Turns the corner inside the 10. Touchdown Indianapolis. Broke out of a Roderick Hood tackle. 15-yard touchdown. Tarek Glenn, the Pro Bowl left tackle, led the way. And the Indianapolis Colts made it look pretty easy. The key play early on, first series, a conversion on 3rd and 7.
You're right, and that's exactly what the Colts said. Okay, you want to play nickel? We're going to go 2 tight ends, pull our tackle, Tarek Glenn on that play, and take a die into the end zone. The way you get them out of nickel on running downs is run them out of it, and the Colts have done that to the Eagles on this first drive.
Adam Vinatieri, the ex-New England Patriot, 10 years there. First year here, Adai, the LSU Tiger, takes it into the end zone. And 5 minutes into the game, Indianapolis up by 7-0.
Might be.
It's easier to land that plane than to park the cruiser.
Yeah. Well, it's not where I would want to be.
Kick taken at the 5-yard line. This is Reno Mahe to run the kickback for the Eagles, and right into a pile he goes. And he's dumped at the 23-yard line, and that's where Jeff Garcia will take over for the Philadelphia Eagles. 10:01 to go in the quarters. 7-0 Indianapolis. Is across the street from the RCA Dome. That's where their minor league team plays. And right down here in the corner, just out of view now, is where they're building the new stadium for the Colts. As you look at the RCA Dome, they'll play here this year, next year. And then right there under construction, bottom of the screen, beginning in 2008. Jeff Garcia now from the 23-yard line. He'll hand the ball off to Westbrook for a gain of 4. Now Garcia started his career coming out of San Jose State in Canada. Did very well with the Calgary Stampeders. Bill Walsh saw him up there, liked him, recommended him to the 49ers, and then he goes to San Francisco for 5 years, goes to 3 Pro Bowls. Then to Cleveland for a year, that didn't work out. Then to Detroit for a year, that didn't work out. And then Andy Reid signs him in the offseason to back up McNabb and told him, I'm signing you for a time like this if it happens. And thus he's the starter, and on 2nd down and 6, the handoff goes to Brian Westbrook again on the inside give. It'll be 3rd down and along too. John, you almost got the feeling that he promised Garcia when he signed that he would be the guy if Donovan wasn't ready to play.
Well, you know, he did promise him that, and you know, as Jeff Garcia said, he wanted to go to a team that, you know, had a good defense, had some, you know, some real weapons, and had a good offensive line, and that's why he chose the Philadelphia Eagles. Although I don't think he really had a lot of other choices.
He didn't. We saw A.J. Feely, and I mentioned the thing with Garcia because a lot of people in Philadelphia feel that Feely should be the guy. Meanwhile, you know that Westbrook is the guy. He'll get it done to the 40-yard line behind a John Runyon block. And let's take a look at the Philly starters.
Jeff Garcia, San Jose State University.
Brian Westbrook, Villanova University.
Thomas DePay, the University of Minnesota.
Dante Stallworth, Sacramento, California, Grant High School.
Reggie Brown, Carrollton High School.
L.J. Smith, Rutgers University.
William Thomas, Florida State.
Todd Herman, Saginaw Valley State.
Jamal Jackson, Delaware State.
Sean Andrews, the big kid, Arkansas. John Runyon, Michigan.
That big kid is 6'4" and 340. That's why he's the big kid. Garcia on first down under pressure, but here's Westbrook again. So Westbrook has touched the ball on all 4 plays. Last week, 22 rushes and 12 receptions, 34 touches.
You know, last night we were talking to Andy Reid, and he said we want to start off the game working the draw game and the screen game, and those first few runs we saw were draws to the left, and then they come back with a screen to the right. And again, as you say, I mean, the guy that their big play guy is this guy, Brian Westbrook. If they're going to get big plays, they have to get the ball to him.
Now Terrell Buckwalter comes into the backfield, coming off 3 knee surgeries in the last 4 years. So the resilient one spells Westbrook, the fake there. And Garcia has a little bit of time, has to slide away, and then the pass is incomplete, intended for a Buckwalter. It'll be second down. Let's see the Indy defense.
Robert Mathis, Alabama A&M.
Anthony McFarland, LSU.
Raheem Brock, Temple.
Dwight Freeney, Syracuse University.
Rocky Boyman, Notre Dame.
Gary Brackett, Rutgers.
Cato June, Michigan. Nick Harper, Fort Valley State.
Marlon Jackson, Michigan.
Antoine Bethel, Howard University.
Jason David, Washington State University.
Andrea told us about that man, Bob Sanders. He's out, had knee surgery earlier this year, did play against New England. They call him the eraser. He can erase a lot of bad plays.
He's a difference maker. When Bob Sanders is in there, this Colt defense is one thing. When he isn't, they're another thing. They're a lot better with Bob Sanders.
Garcia will take a timeout here. 2nd and 10 when we come back.
There she goes. One that got away. You see the way she was looking at me?
Sean Alexander and the Seattle Seahawks battle the suddenly desperate Denver Broncos. Every game counts, but only one night matters. Sunday Night Football on NBC.
Plenty of intrigue next week. Matt Hasselbeck figures to be back. He'll play tomorrow night against Green Bay, the way it looks. And will Jay Cutler, the rookie from Vanderbilt, supplant Jake Plummer? That seems to be the speculation. Nothing official from Denver. That's next week, Seahawks Broncos. 2nd and 10 after the timeout. Garcia throws, and that pass is good for 9 yards as he goes to his tight end, L.J. Smith, 4th-year man out of Rutgers, setting up 3rd and 1.
You know, when you have Jeff Garcia in their quarterback, it's going to be a different offense. It's going to be a ball control offense, shorter passes, but even Tony Dungy was saying last night, he said, you know the thing playing against Garcia, the ball comes out of there quickly, and that's the thing that your defense has to adjust to, and I think we just saw that on the last play. That ball was really out of there quickly.
3rd down, short 2. Toss back to Westbrook. He'll try to cut it back, runs into his own man, and appears to have enough for the first down. Great effort by Westbrook going outside, running into his own blocker, and then diving, and appears to have the first down.
If he appears to have it, it's going to be by just an inch or so, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the thing that Brian Westbrook can do, though. I mean, he can make something out of nothing, and there was nothing, and right here at the end is something if he gets that first down.
He ran into Sean Andrews, who introduced himself as the big kid. Andrews was being engaged with Raheem Brock, and it will be, says Bill Carollo, a first down.
Sean Andrews isn't as big a kid as he was a year ago. I mean, a year ago he was a giant kid, and in the offseason he really trained and lost weight and got a smaller pair of shoulder pads, and he doesn't look like the same guy.
No, especially with those shoulder pads. What a difference that makes.
Yeah, I think he got Dante Stallworth's shoulder pads.
Stallworth, the wide receiver, who's been nagged with hamstring pulls, but has been the big play guy for these guys, along with Reggie Brown. There's Stallworth. Split to the right, first down from the 39-yard line on Philly's first drive. Stallworth, the former New Orleans Saint, goes next to nowhere as he's taken down by the rookie from Howard University, Antoine Bethea. They picked up Stallworth. They've got Brown on the outside, Hank Baskett, the rookie out of New Mexico, and of course they love to throw the ball to Westbrook.
Yeah, and one thing with the ball coming out quickly, you know that the defense doesn't have to get as deep. And, you know, so at some point you have to threaten that defense. You see Nick Harper, the corner, how quickly he was up there because he's not worrying about the deep ball. And I think somewhere in this drive they're going to have to throw a big one just to back this defense off a little.
Well, they've been a big play team, but of course that's when they had McNabb. Now you've got Westbrook to the 36-yard line. The one thing about the Colts, they are vulnerable. Let's take a look at that Indianapolis starting unit, but we've done that. We're going to show you graphically how vulnerable they have been, especially on the ground. 155.1 yards per game, worst in the league, and third worst against the rush per carry, 4.9.
But you know what can help that is a strong offense that get off to a good start, get points on the board, and make the opponent play uphill all night.
Garcia out of the shotgun now on 3rd and 7.
4 wide receivers.
Garcia throws and finds the open man in the seam. That is number 83, Greg Lewis. So they had 4 wides. You had Lewis coming out of the slot, and that's a first down. He took a pop, but holds on. And Philadelphia with an impressive opening drive. Nick Harper whacked him at the end.
And that was the audible. You see Jeff Garcia, he gave that binocular look, and that meant that both slots are just going to hook. He gives that, and he's telling those 2 slots, the 2 inside guys, just to go up there at about 10 or 12 yards and hook. That was the signal for it. That was what he read. If they're up tight, they're going to go deep. If they're off, they're going to run that pattern.
11th play of this drive. Here goes Westbrook. They take it inside the 20. They get to the red zone as he takes it to the 19-yard line. Robert Mathis made the tackle, and here's what John was talking about, that binocular sign.
Yeah, you see he's looking, and again he sees that the defense is off, so instead of diagonals, instead of everyone going up, he wants those 2 slots to hook that we just saw, and that's a play that got him the first down, and that was a signal for those guys to do it.
Now if he puts his thumbs in his ears, that's a whole other thing, isn't it?
That's a whole new deal. That's everyone go deep.
2nd down and 6 at the 19-yard line. Garcia flushed out, checks off underneath Westbrook, and he's going to set up a 3rd down and 2 at the 15. Rocky Boyman, the ex-Tennessee Titan, taking the spot of the injured Gilbert Gardner, made the tackle.
Yeah, and that's what Tony Dungy was talking about, this defense that, you know, that they play fast and they tackle well. And he said, you know, when you play the Eagles, they're kind of an open team. They're going to throw screens. They're going to throw short passes. He said, our defense really should be built to contain that.
3rd down and 2. Westbrook has 6 rushes and 2 receptions. So he's handled the ball 8 times on the 12 plays. 3rd and a deuce. This is his 9th touch. And this time, Anthony McFarland, the former Tampa Bay Buck who played for Dungy when Tony was there and then came over earlier this season, stops him.
Former Booger. He was Booger McFarland down in Tampa, and you're going to see him right here to the right of the center. Here he is right here, and again, he's a nose tackle, and the center goes to his left, and he just takes that gap. He just goes in that area that the center vacated.
This will be a 36-yard attempt for one of the best in the league, David Akers. High snap, but the ball has gotten down, and the kick this time is no good. Dirk Johnson is the holder, and the snap was high. He got it down, and Andy Reid watches that drive go a wasting. 7-0 Indy. This week, Monument Circle in downtown Indianapolis. Lit the Christmas tree the other night. Beautiful. Gorgeous night in central Indiana. So far, so good for Colts fans. They lead 7-0. Take over after the missed field goal. And here's a Dye who scored the touchdown. Stopped after a gain of 1 by Trent Cole. You know, the funny thing about Akers, he's terrific outside, but inside, where you would figure he'd be better, he's not that hot. 10 out of 16 in his career indoors. Go figure.
Well, I can figure that last one. It was a bad snap. I mean, the snap was high, and by the time the ball got down there, he didn't have a chance, I don't think.
2nd and 10, going deep, and it is one-handed and caught by Reggie Wayne along the sideline. Tremendous catch with Sheldon Brown covering on the play, and Indy wants to get up and run a play real quickly before Andy Reid has anybody upstairs tell him to challenge it. So the upstairs guys now looking at this. What are they going to see? Are they going to tell Reid to challenge? Manning ready to snap it, and they do get the challenge flag out. They get it out. They take a chance here on that being an incomplete pass. Bill Carollo is the referee, and one thing you should know about Carollo, and we had him last week, as it turned out in the game between Denver and San Diego, he almost never overturns a call.
You know, I think he dotted the I with that right foot. I think he had the left foot in. He had control of the ball. He didn't lose control of the ball when he went to the ground. And I think when he got that right toe down, that made both feet inbounds.
Philadelphia is challenging the ruling on the field that it was a catch. We'll review the play.
So Carollo will go under the hood. He hasn't overturned a call this season. 9 straight. What will happen here? We're looking at the replays. Bill Carollo has as well.
After
and here's the
play,
decision.
To determine the receiver had possession of the ball, both feet inbounds. The ruling on the field is a catch.
Boy, that was a fabulous catch. And John, you summed it up perfectly. I love the way you described it. Like the guy who dots the I for the Ohio State band, he dots the I with that second foot.
What a catch, a one-handed catch, and then having the concentration to catch that ball, keep control of it, and get that second foot inbounds.
And have possession. He had to establish possession, which he did with that one hand. That was clear. And then dotting the I for a 38-yard gain. And he's already caught 3 tonight.
You know, the interesting thing, the Philadelphia Eagles on defense started off the first drive, you know, in nickel defense, 5 defensive backs. That didn't work because they ran them out of that. Then they come back in this, they're in base defense, you know, with 3 linebackers, 4 defensive backs, and the Colts are just going to pass them out of that.
Now at the 36-yard line. To the outside on the stretch play goes a Dye. He's going to cut it back, and a Dye who played for Nick Saban at LSU has a first down on an 11-yard run off a Charlie Johnson block. Johnson taking the spot normally held down by Ryan Dean, the right tackle.
You know, last week Andy Reid had the Philadelphia Eagles come out and practice in pads because their tackling was so poor, and I don't think the pads did them any good. I mean, their tackling so far in this game has still not been good. I mean, the Eagles used to be a great tackling team, you know, a very aggressive team with a tackle line of scrimmage, tackled very well. They don't anymore.
At the 25-yard line, first down. Half a minute to go in the opening quarter. Pick up the blitz. Hole for a Dye. Through the middle he goes to the 10-yard line. Brian Dawkins made the stop. Ryan Wilja provided the block. And Andy Reid looking up after his team and missed a field goal, in jeopardy of going down by 2 touchdowns with the end of the quarter coming up here. Indianapolis already with 143 total yards. We played 15 minutes with the score. Indianapolis 7, Philadelphia nothing. Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages.
Hail Mary pass, last play of the half. Are you kidding me?
There he is, touchdown LT.
Caught, touchdown. What a remarkable comeback by the Titans.
And back to Indianapolis we come. Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrea Kramer on this last Sunday night of November. at the RCA Dome in downtown Indianapolis. 7-0 Colts, and they're threatening here from the 10-yard line. It'll be first down and goal on the first play of the second quarter. They give it to Adai, who's already scored once tonight, and now twice. Touchdown Colts. Well, everybody in this town was worried when Edgerrin James took a hike to Phoenix. They're not worried anymore.
Nope, they want to double those outside receivers, and you know that they're going to run. Watch Tariq Glenn here, the big left tackle, pull, and he gets around in front of Adai and gets that block right there. And that's the one that sprung him. Of course, the way the Eagles are attacking and tackling, you don't need a lot of big blocks by Tariq Glenn.
6 carries, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Adai. Adam Vinatieri for the point after. Hunter Smith to hold. And so after the missed field goal, back come the Colts. 74 yards, 5 plays, 14-0. The season here in Indianapolis, 55,000 filling the RCA Dome. They're 9-1 Colts. Best record in the league right now, all by themselves, because of New England's loss earlier, New England's defeat earlier of the Chicago Bears, who are now 9-2. So clearly the best record in the AFC, and trying to keep it that way as the kickoff is taken at the 5-yard line by Reno Mahe. And Mahe with a little burst for the Eagles, and this is what they needed. Across the 50 he goes into Colt territory to the 49-yard line. Tywan Hagler making the stop. Jeff Garcia started in Canada. Then he had those 4 really good seasons with the San Francisco 49ers. Went to 3 Pro Bowls. But since then, his final year at San Fran, then to Cleveland, Detroit, now Philadelphia, 9-19. And so there's been a big drop off there. And the Eagles, the 4th team he's played with over the last 4 seasons.
You know, and the way he started there at San Francisco in the 3 Pro Bowls, he thought he was going to be there forever. I mean, he thought it was going to be went from Joe Montana to Steve Young, and then from Steve Young to Jeff Garcia. Then they fire Steve Mariucci. The whole thing unravels, and the rest is history.
And that's a backward pass, and a pass attempt coming here by Hank Baskett, but it's picked off at the 20-yard line. Nick Harper with the interception, and he brings it back to the 40. So the Eagles call a trick play to try to get something to get him right back in it, and instead it turns out to be a disaster, and Manning will come back out onto the field at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, and this is exactly what the Colts do to you. They, you know, you say that they don't have great defense, but what they do is they get ahead, and then they make you press. They make you do desperate things like this. This is a very desperate play. I mean, it's one of those that, you know, it didn't work. The defense didn't buy it. I mean, they're up by 2 touchdowns. They drop back. Here's the one. Just take your loss right there. Run the ball. But you can't throw it up into this.
Baskett, a rookie from New Mexico, and that is his first NFL pass. Maybe his last. From the 40-yard line. First down for the Colts. Off the fake. Manning then comes back to the guy he faked it to, Rhodes. And that time, Dhani Jones takes care of him back of the line of scrimmage for a loss of 1.
Yeah, they only really had 2 deep receivers, and it was, you know, the Reggie Wayne on one side, Marvin Harris on the other side. And what the Eagles did is they double him. I mean, that's what Jim Johnson said that he wanted to do most of the time, is double those 2 guys. And, you know, if they're going to beat us with the run, beat us with the short passing. And you can see they're doing the same thing on this down.
2nd and 11. They've yet to throw a ball Marvin Harrison's way tonight. That doesn't figure to last much longer. Green's caught 3 and Rhodes has caught 2. Manning sneaks a peek at the play clock. And on 2nd and 11, throws over the middle. And he goes to Ben Utek, who's the 2nd tight end. Of course, he hasn't thrown a pass to Harrison or Dallas Clark, who is their #1 tight end and a great pass catcher as well.
You know, this offense of the Colts, when they go no huddle, they really put a bind on the defense because the defense isn't used to it, but they also have to go no huddle. So what the Eagles are doing, they've given every player I mean, the defensive backs, the linebackers, the defensive line all have a wristband that look like this. So they call in a corresponding number, and every player looks at his wristband to see what the defense is.
The way Indy runs its offense, those guys better be speed readers. Paul Evelyn Wood. Here goes Adai, and he'll pick up a first down on a 3rd and 1. So Adai takes it to the 43-yard line of the Philadelphia Eagles, and the rookies carried 7 times for 68 yards, and Jim Johnson trying to figure out the answer here.
Yeah, and that was the short yardage offense for the Colts. Brian Fletcher, the backup tight end, was in as a lead back, as a fullback. The Colts really don't carry a fullback. They use their tight ends if they need a fullback in short yardage and goal line.
2 tights, 2 wides here. Rhodes is the ace back from the 43-yard line. Dominique Rhodes, and that's a nice tackle as you've got Jeremiah Trotter, the Axeman, coming up to make the stop. Let's go to Andrea.
Well, Colts right tackle Ryan Dean has a muscle problem in his back, and they took him to the locker room, and they're calling his return questionable. Now, Al, you pointed out before that Charlie Johnson is in for him. He is also their short yardage and goal line tight end, so we'll see if there's any kind of a domino effect for the offense if they get in those situations again.
So far, so good, though. Johnson's made a couple of nice blocks along the way. 2nd down and 14 here. And more than 12 minutes left in the half against this 4-man Eagle front.
See what they can do where they get you in a bind here is Dallas Clark is a tight end, but he can also be a slot.
False
so
start,
they give you
74 offense, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
We talk about Charlie.
Kibosh.
You knew that was going to happen.
Just put the kibosh on him. Anyway, I was saying that the Colts could go 2 tight ends, and they can keep Dallas Clark in as a tight end, or they can put him out like they are here as a slot. So they can give you multiple looks without having to make a substitution. Here's Dallas Clark right here in the slot now.
Wayne outside him. We've got Harrison off to the right.
The Eagles are back in nickel again.
2nd and 19. Draw. Rhodes. And Rhodes with a nifty move takes it inside the 40 of the Eagles down to the 39 to set up a manageable 3rd down. 3rd and about 6.
Yeah, this is a bad combination for the Eagles, being in a nickel defense where you have the 5 defensive backs, 1 less linebacker, and then having them run at you and you being a poor tackling team. This is not a good combination right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is what the Colts are doing. If they play nickel, they're going to run at you. If you play regular, they're going to throw it. Or they'll do both anytime.
3rd and 6. Adai and Rhodes are both in the game, flanking Manning out of the shotgun. And Peyton will swing it to the outside. Adai makes the catch inside the 30. And the rookie is out of bounds at the 23-yard line. What a first half for this guy. 68 yards on 7 carries. And that's his first catch there for 16 yards.
Yeah, but what a first half for Peyton Manning. You know, the thing we talked about is rhythm, get them out of rhythm. You have to hit them, you have to get them on the ground. But the Eagle defense really hasn't done anything. I don't know that they've come close to Peyton Manning yet. Like they only had 10 guys in there on that last play until they just brought a guy in.
If this were on a natural surface, he would not have a grass stain right now. Adai behind Johnson gets around the corner, and then McCoy from behind begins to knock him down and get some help, but not until Joseph Adai picks up 6 yards.
You know, and again, we talk about, you know, can the Colts do it? Can they go to a Super Bowl with this type of team? And this is a reason that I say they can, because, you know, they get ahead, and this helps their defense. I mean, these drives, they can run it, they can throw it outside, short, deep, do all those things, and keep their defense off the field and fresh.
2nd and 4. Jeremiah Trotter is over on the Eagle bench. They're checking him out. So the middle linebacker not in here on this play as Adai takes it for a gain of 2. And that will make it 3rd down and 2. Yeah, Jeremiah Trotter.
I was just going to say, I think we're going to see more and more of Adai as the season goes on. Lee Dungy was talking about last night how, you know, you get these rookies and and they've already played like 14 or 15 games, and his body is telling him it's basketball season. And the coach is telling him, okay, right now we're in the stretch run. And from Thanksgiving on is the stretch. Here's where we have to make our move. And his body's saying, hey, I thought this thing is over by now.
3rd and 2. A dive. First down. And he already has the hat trick. Touchdown for Joseph Adai. 15 yards, and Andy Reid just looked like a guy who needs some antacid.
He needs more than antacid. He needs a bunch of guys that can tackle it. Here's a guy that's been doing a good job of blocking on this thing. You know, we showed Dallas Clark, and we showed how he could be a tight end or slot. But when he's in that slot, he really blocks. And that's the thing that gets that stretch play going. You get that stretch play out here to the numbers, make the cut there. But when you have your slot guy, who's your tight end, Dallas Clark, making blocks like that, it's going to be touchdown.
Vinatieri converts, and with 8:58 to play in the first half, it's 21-0. The Indianapolis Colts looking every bit like the 9-1 team they are. One of the job descriptions of being a football broadcaster is that you have to do whatever you can to hold an audience. So don't forget, the Giants had a 21-0 lead and lost the game to them. John, we just have to do our duty here.
I'll tell you, this is a tough situation for Jeff Garcia's first start with the Philadelphia Eagles, though.
Very. And that game had a Manning at quarterback. Into the end zone, Reno Mahe will down it there. Garcia and company going back to work. 8:58 remaining in the opening half. 21-0 on 3 touchdowns by Joseph Adai.
Getting ahead on big leads and trying to put other offenses and make them one-dimensional. In any offense, doesn't matter how good you are, when you go one-dimensional, it's tough to win football games.
Jeff Saturday talking about his team. Adai tonight, tying a Colts record for most touchdowns by a rookie in one game. Edgerrin James, Marvin Harrison, Marshall Faulk, and of course, there's a ton of time left to break that mark. On 1st and 10, Westbrook. Well, you know, you're always saying you can't abandon the running game, and I guess you can't abandon the running game even though you're down 21-0 because there's so much time left.
Yeah, and Westbrook is the type of guy that if he finds a crack, gets a hole, he can take it, 40 or 50 yards. So, he's still a big play guy running inside. So, I mean, he's your best player, he's your big play guy, and you're either going to hand it to him or throw it to him trying to get a big play.
2nd down and 8. 8.5 to go in the half. Garcia slinging it to the outside, and that's a 3-yard gain as Matt Schobel, their second tight end, came over from the Cincinnati Bengals. Gets tackled by Jason David. 3rd down and 5 upcoming.
And that's one thing about Tony Dungy defense is the corners are all good tacklers. Anytime you play a lot of cover 2, that means those corners are going to be up there in the wide receivers. And then, if it's a short pass or a run, he has to come up and be the force or support guy. Jason David made a heck of a tackle there.
3rd down and 5 at the 25-yard line. And that is almost intercepted. And what had to happen there is with Jason David looking like he was going to make the pick, the receiver, Reggie Brown, had to turn into a defensive back.
Don't you just feel what Jeff Saturday was talking about? I mean, you get ahead 21-0, and now the other team becomes one-dimensional, and then they start forcing stuff, and then your defense can become more aggressive, and that's the way Jason David has played those last 2. I think what happened there is Brown really turned into a defender, or that could have been an interception.
And this is how an avalanche starts. Line drive kick by Dirk Johnson, first punt of the game. Terrence Wilkins from the 33 gets a couple of blocks and then gets taken down at midfield by Dhani Jones. But Manning will have the ball on the plus side of the 50. 7.5 to go in the half. 21-zip, Indy. RCA Dome, Indianapolis. Colts at the 48-yard line of Philadelphia, leading 21-0. Manning is 7 out of 8 tonight for 104 yards. And on the ground, Indy has rushed for 114. Rhodes tackled at the line of scrimmage. And they've done it all without even thinking about throwing to Marvin Harrison to this point. But you know that's coming at some point. 4th all-time in career receptions. And the next time he and Manning combine for a touchdown pass, it'll be number 100. Peyton flushed out. And he'll just throw that one away into the Philadelphia bench.
Now that's what they wanted to do to Peyton Manning all night. That's kind of what the Dallas Cowboys did to him, you know, is get pressure on him, get him off his spot. I mean, if he can stay back there in that spot, take that short side step and throw, you know, and read your defense, you know, and you don't disguise. He is as close to perfect as I think a quarterback can be. Don't you feel, though, that he's starting to feel guilty? I know Peyton, I know Marvin Harrison. Peyton Manning is starting to feel guilty about not yet getting the ball to Marvin Harrison.
I would think Harrison will definitely get it within the next couple of minutes.
If they take the doubles off.
Timeout taken by Manning here. 7 minutes to the half. 3rd and 10 when we come back to Indianapolis. Peyton Manning, after a timeout, will have a 3rd down and 10 for the Indianapolis Colts here on a night in which it's been just about perfect for their offense.
And a sight right there you don't often see with this cold offense, a huddle.
Yeah. 15 touchdowns, 2 picks on 3rd down.
He has both his running backs in here on this down.
He's out of the shotgun. You got Wayne left. You got Harrison in the slot to the right. And Clark in motion now, so he becomes the slot man. Harrison running down the right sideline. The pass is thrown underneath, and that is incomplete. Stop the presses. Incomplete pass. Reggie Wayne, the intended receiver. Thomas covering on the play, and Tony Dungy will have to send in Hunter Smith to punt.
You know, it all started with the pressure that they put on Peyton Manning. Remember that one where they flushed him out of the pocket and then scrambled, you know, and he had to get out there. Then that kind of threw him out of rhythm, at least on this possession.
Hunter Smith to send it skyward. Reno Mahe to run it back for the Eagles. He sets up at the 10-yard line. Puts the nose of the ball down so it will spin end over end and caught at the 11-yard line by Reno Mahe. Tony Dungy now in his 5th season here with the Indianapolis Colts after 6 seasons at Tampa. First 75 games with one team. Don Shula would hold the mark, 61 wins. George Seifert with the 49ers had 60. The legendary Paul Brown 59. And Tony Dungy right now with 57 wins in his first 74 games. 58 would come tonight. So he's on a pretty illustrious list.
Yeah, and you know, and the great thing about it is, you know, he does it his way. I mean, Tony is, you know, he doesn't get up, he doesn't get down. He's always on an even keel, and his team seem to play that way.
He is the implacable one as Reggie Brown makes the catch. He's Andy Reid's implacable, but I was thinking like on an animation meter, you would have Mike Ditka maybe at the top. Now you'd be pretty close to the top of the animation meter,
and then
then at the other end of the meter, you'd have somebody like Tony Dungy. Just goes about his business.
Well, you know, and there's no one way to do it. You know, I mean, everyone couldn't be Vince Lombardi, and for every Vince Lombardi, there was a Tom Landry. I mean, you know, for every guy that is a Mike Ditka, there was a Paul Brown, and you know, they just have to do it their way and within the frame of their own personality.
Westbrook carrying here. I think about, you know, Dungy, one of the things I think he took a little bit of Chuck Noll with him because he worked with Chuck's staff when he started in coaching with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, you're not always a chip off the old block. For instance, Herm Edwards, who's very animated, worked for Tony.
Right, because you have to be yourself. I mean, you can pick what someone does coaching-wise, scheme-wise, system-wise, but you can't take their personality.
from the 24-yard line, and whistle before the snap.
You know, you always think that, you know, size will, you know, beat speed and stuff. It's not here tonight.
84, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
You know, you think of this Eagle offensive line, and they're big and strong, and they're going against a small, fast defense, and the small, fast defense is winning. And again, I think they're winning, you know, that thing about playing uphill that we talked about, you know, the offense putting 21 up there. And that is the biggest friend of this Colt defense that there is.
For first and 15 after the call against Hank Baskett. Garcia comes back the other way. This is Buckhalter. Gets ridden down after a gain of 6. At the 26, we go to Andrea.
Well, you're talking about Tony Dungy's personality, and he's really very basic. In the Colts meeting room, he has what he calls his objective sheet, the things that the Colts must do each week to win. 2 on offense, 2 on defense, and 4 on special teams. The special teams have to do with making kicks, winning the field position battle, and no penalties. So when the players come in the day after the game, in the column next to each objective is written yes or no. Now, last week when they lost, they had only 2 yeses. But I think, guys, this week, they could have a lot of yeses in that column. So
far, almost perfect. 2nd and 8. And that pass is caught by the tight end, L.J. Smith. He'll get a first down up at the 35 with 4:40 to go in the half.
Right, and the biggest no had to be turnovers. And, you know, if you say, how do you beat the Colts, that's probably it. I mean, last week they go play the Dallas Cowboys. They have 4 turnovers. And, you know, so this week with the Colts, it was all about ball protection, protecting the ball, ball security. All those kinds of words were being used in the Colt camp.
And the Colts are so good. They had 4 turnovers, and they were still in the game until the very end. Had a chance to get it into the end zone in the waning minutes of the game for what would have been a tie, but Dallas was able to hold on. Stallworth makes the catch, and the former New Orleans Saint, a high draft choice a few seasons back, got traded in a deal that sent Mark Semino to New Orleans. It's interesting that New Orleans would give up a guy like Stallworth, who's been such a key guy for Philadelphia, and yet look at the Saints now. They've got like 114 different receivers for Drew Brees.
And they must have knew that that was coming, and that's why they gave up Dante Stallworth.
Brees another fabulous day at Atlanta as New Orleans wins on 2nd and a deuce. Now you've got Westbrook taking it all the way to the 35-yard line. So Philadelphia trying to inch its way back. 1st and 10 at the 35-yard line. The offense showing life here.
Yeah, and that's why you keep giving the ball to Westbrook, because he can really run the ball further or deeper than Jeff Garcia can throw it. And you can see, I mean, here's a big play right here. He gets a block. He's going to make a move right there, and Gary Brackett, and then just make another move on there, another move there, and he makes tacklers look bad.
21-yard gain. You got Antoine Bethea coming off the field, the rookie from Howard University, who starts as a rookie because Mike Doss was on injured reserve. He's gone for the year. This kid's done a pretty good job. You've got Bob Sanders also out. So if there's a little vulnerability, it might be deep for their Sanders in the secondary.
Right, and Marlon Jackson, the other safety, is really a corner. Antoine Bethea has been playing well. I mean, I've been watching the Colts. We had him in preseason, and we had him earlier in the season, and every game I see him, he plays better.
Shovel pass. You've got Dexter Reed in replacing the injured Bethea, and the shovel pass working for a gain to the 19-yard line of 17 yards.
This is what you want to do on that shovel pass. You want to invite that end up, invite both these defensive ends up the field right to the quarterback, and then just throw it underneath them. I don't know. That was very, very close to a roughing the passer, wasn't it?
No call. Josh Thomas making the tackle. The ball is at the 19-yard line. And through the middle goes Carell Buckhalter. And now it's a 1st and goal. So again, we talked about you can't give up on the running game, even though you're down 3 touchdowns. So much time left in the game. And the one place where Indy is in particular vulnerable is in the running game.
And we were talking about this offensive line of the Eagles. They're big and strong against a smaller Colt defense.
Eagles on the move, trying to get back in it.
Brunch, $30.
Hey, that's okay, Wendy. That was a good carry. You're still the man. You're the man.
Latte, $4.
Shake it off, Johnny. Rub some dirt on it.
New piano, $3,000.
All right, guys. They're not saying boo. They're saying movers.
Supporting your team, priceless.
Sorry, Bobby. You still got the best arm in the neighborhood.
There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
This is decaf, right?
Samsung, the official HD TV of the NFL, presents the play of the day. In Buffalo, Chris Hansen punted to Roscoe Parrish, who picked the ball up, spun away from Ahmad Carroll, and sprinted up the sideline for the 82-yard touchdown that helped the Bills beat the Jaguars 27-24.
He brought it all the way back, and I mean all the way back. Touchdown, Roscoe Parrish.
Samsung, the official HD TV of the National Football League.
This is Gary Poole, married for 10 years but didn't know it until he had fresh brewed premium roast coffee and a McGriddles. It was like he was seeing his wife for the very first time.
It's like we're newlyweds all over again.
Wake up and smell your life.
Eastern and Pacific, 8 Central and Mountain. There was the Indiana State Capitol. 2-minute warning. First down Eagles, first and goal. Carell Buckhalter is the running back, and Buckhalter through the middle takes the ball to the 1-yard line. Second down and goal for the Philadelphia Eagles.
You know, this isn't a bad 1-2 punch when you go to Westbrook to Buckhalter, but I still think the Eagles need that big back. You know, that big banger in there, especially when they get short yardage and they get in this area of the field.
Buckhalter 6 feet 217. Westbrook 5'8", 203. Westbrook is in here. Second and goal.
Look how far he has to run to get to the line of scrimmage.
They fake to him, and then Garcia will throw, and it's caught by L.J. Smith, the tight end, for a touchdown. And Smith with a dunk over the crossbar, and Jeff Garcia has led his team down the field 88 yards in 10 plays. So they're able to stop Indianapolis, force the punt, and then Garcia takes them almost the length of the field. Good drive.
Yeah, and what they did, as you said, they didn't get out of balance. This is a bootleg to the right side. You see Smith just comes up, stands right on the goal line. But Jeff Garcia did when the backs went to the left. They were the Colts were playing run, so they all go to that side. Then he bootlegs back to the other side, and no one covers the tight end.
Akers to the point after. That drive, you had 10 plays. They ran 4 times, passed 6 times. Indianapolis 21, Philadelphia 7. Toyota halftime show. Tony Romo in a interview from Dallas, the sudden star of the Cowboys. Giants meltdown in Tennessee. Pats win, knock off the Bears, who are now 9-2, all coming your way on the Toyota halftime show.
Hasn't Tony Romo done a heck of a lot, not only for the Dallas Cowboys, but for all of Dallas? I mean, that's all you talk about now is the Cowboys in a positive way. I mean, it's not, you know, what T.O. do this week, what's Bill Parcells saying. But I mean, he just went in there and just uplifted that whole area.
Well, we've had a chance in the last few weeks, and will again, to see Romo and Phillip Rivers, and they are 2 really special guys. Here is Wilkins out past the 30, and a good run back, and of course with Peyton Manning at the helm, and the ball at the 41-yard line already, and 2 timeouts left. They might as well have all night.
Right, and now is when the Eagle defense has to step up. You know, we were talking earlier where Andy Reid said it's not all about Jeff Garcia, you know, taking Donovan McNabb's place. It's about everyone stepping up. And I don't feel in this first half that this defense has stepped up much. I mean, I think that maybe in the last series was their best series when they flushed Peyton Manning out once, but they have to get a little more of that. They have to start getting pressure on Peyton Manning.
And right here, this is big. I mean, Philly, the offense gets him back within 14, but now Manning can do a lot more damage. He throws underneath. That is caught by Dominique Rhodes. He takes it to the 50-yard line. Gain of about 8. Michael Lewis in on the stop. Second down, long 1 at the 50. Under a minute to go. Pressure on Manning. Slings it to the outside, and Marvin Harrison makes his first catch of the night and the 988th of his career for a first down to the 42-yard line.
You know what the Colts are doing now? They took Ben Utek out as a tight end. They have Brian Fletcher in there, so they're not thinking about running here. That gives them another receiver. Dallas Clark in the slot down here, and Fletcher at the tight end up on top, along with the 2 wide receivers.
50 seconds. Now they're going to run. They're going to give it to Rhodes, and that surprises the Philly defense. Off the right side, behind a Brian Fletcher block, takes it to the 29, and now Manning can take his first of 2 remaining timeouts after a 13-yard gain and 42 seconds left.
I think that wasn't a bad time to call a run, because we talked about Brian Fletcher, and you see he comes in at tight end. Again, he's going to be the pass receiving tight end. The linebackers look like they were back off, and then when they run right at him with Dominic Rhodes, all the defense is sitting back there catching.
Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator. You know, we're talking about implacable and, you know, Dungy's demeanor, and Tom Moore would be the same guy.
Yeah, but
style.
Inside, I think
Yes.
Tom Moore probably boils a little more than Tony does. But I mean, there's a guy that, you know, doesn't take a lot of credit for anything, but deserves a lot of credit, and just for the development of Peyton Manning. What he does, we all know with this no huddle. Now they did huddle up, but he'll give him 3 plays, you know, 2 runs and a pass, and then Peyton calls that play, or the best play, at the line of scrimmage.
You're right. I've known him a long time. I've never heard him toot his horn or even just tap on the horn.
No, never. He taps everyone else's, but not his own.
Dallas Clark will make the catch, and he's taken down in the open field by Sean Considine. And Clark is down, so there's going to be a runoff here for an injury time. But Dallas Clark, well, you know, that's the way he's reacting. This could be real serious.
Yeah, because he's such a valuable part of this offense. You know, when they didn't have Stokely anymore, who would play the 3rd wide receiver, they used Dallas Clark in that position as a slot or tight end. This doesn't look good.
His ankle got caught underneath him, and you can see him just writhing in agony there as Considine makes the tackle, and that has hushed this crowd at the RCA Dome.
I'll tell you right away when he saw it, the most upset guy, well, Dallas Clark has to be the most upset guy, was Peyton Manning.
Yeah, you saw his reaction.
Yeah, I mean, he saw it, boom, right now. He knows how important Dallas Clark is, because if they want to double those outside guys, I mean, if they're going to double Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, then that inside guy has been big for him, is Dallas Clark. And tonight, I think Dallas Clark has done a great job of blocking for the running game.
And let's check in with Andrea.
Well, as you know, as we see this injury to Dallas Clark, in terms of their receiving core, they've been depleted because their 3rd receiver, Brandon Stokely, has been out with a knee injury. Well, Bill Polian, the Colts president, told me that they have agreed in principle to a contract with the veteran wide receiver Ricky Prohl, who spent the last 3 years with Carolina. It is not signed yet. Now, interestingly, Polian said that signing it is dependent on what happens injury-wise in this game, if they have to make another roster move. And so it could be interesting with what happens here with Clark, and we will certainly update you on Clark's status as soon as we get more information.
I'll tell you, that's a great. I just kept looking into the tunnel for the cart to come out, and who would have thought that Clark would walk off with a little bit of a limp.
Right, and how about the reaction of the crowd?
Yeah.
I mean, all these fans were just watching right there at Dallas Clark, and when he stood up, listen to this ovation, they all stood up with him.
That was like a scene from Jerry Maguire.
Well, I think they realize, I mean, we talk about Peyton Manning in the offense and Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, but Dallas Clark is a very, very big part of it.
So now it'll be 2nd down and 6.
And now what they do is they put Aaron Moorhead in as a 3rd wide receiver. So where Dallas Clark was a 2nd tight end playing the slot, Moorhead will now be the third wide receiver.
And when you have an injury in the last 2 minutes that erases a timeout, if you had one, and they did, so they have none now. Otherwise, it would have been a runoff on the clock. So they have no timeouts. It's 2nd down and 6. They give the ball to Rhodes, and he gets taken down at the 23-yard line. So now Manning, without that timeout, looks over to the bench. He's still the coolest guy in the room. But they better do something here.
Well, the coolest guy in the room can't stay too cool in the room too much longer.
Wow, because, I mean, if nothing else, they won't even have time for a field goal. But maybe that's all he was thinking about. Instead of, that's an interesting situation there. I mean, Manning, of all guys, and maybe it has something to do with Clark being out of the lineup, he had a lot of time to at least, go for it, do something, pick up a first down even without a timeout. But clearly he came up there and all they were going to do was kick the field goal.
Right, and that was a situation that, that he kind of knew what the situation was, and that's what they wanted to do. And they probably told him in his head, said, okay, just take the clock down to 4 and then spike it, and then we'll kick the field goal.
So now a 39-yard attempt for Adam Vinatieri, who's had a Hall of Fame start to his career. Some of the most pressure-packed kicks. In the meantime, he got Hunter Smith
standing up.
Yep. I think they were resetting the play clock, and there was some confusion on the field because of that. So Bill Carollo gets together, sort it out with the crew, because Hunter Smith kept looking up at the play clock. The play clock should have gone back to 40 after the spike. Right now it will start at 25, but the question is there a penalty? And that's the discussion amongst the officials right now that preceded the action up front. And you've got a penalty. So that's what the discussion was about.
False start on the offense. The right guard lifted up after he was set. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
And all of a sudden this becomes a little bit more than a chip shot field goal.
He called the right guard, and I think it's the right tackle. There's the, well, both of them did, didn't they? It was the right guard and the tackle. The center has his palms up like I have no idea what I just did. I'm innocent.
He might have been. This is now a 44-yard field goal attempt for Vinatieri. First year as a Colt, played here as a Patriot. He's never missed a kick in this building. That's a low snap. Smith did a great job getting it down, and the kick is good. So kind of a freaky way for the Colts to end it. Looking at a touchdown, then they get a field goal, and they just barely get it. 24-7, Bob Costas and the gang coming up on the Toyota Halftime Show.
All the feeling out is over once the second half begins.
If you're up by 21 or if you're down by 21, you got to play like the score is 0-0.
They have some talent on that offense. They're gonna make some plays. But the key for us to be patient and to make them pay for the plays that they do make.
This time of year, you don't have that extra chance to bounce back, as in if you lose early in the year.
When you're trailing, you need to find a way to scratch and claw your way back into it.
It's all about what you do, tonight, not about what we did last week.
Now we got to put together another string of wins and really just focus on what we can do in the future.
As Jeff Garcia just said, they're going to try to scratch and claw their way back into it. Al Michaels with John Madden, Andrea Kramer, RCA Dome, Indianapolis on this late November Sunday night, 24-7. And Philadelphia will get the ball, John, as we start the third quarter.
I think they can scratch and claw, as Jeff was saying, because they proved that on that last drive. Earlier they had a drive and missed a field goal, but I think they have the ability to do that.
Reno Mahe this time will run into a wall up at the 20-yard line by the name of Darrell Reed, and we'll go to Andrea.
Well, the Colts are typically very tight-lipped about injuries, but I talked to Tony Dungy coming out of the locker room. He said that Antoine Bethea, Ryan Dean, and maybe most significantly, tight end Dallas Clark are all out for the rest of the game. Clark has a leg injury. Now, what they have to do is to continue to swarm Brian Westbrook. Tony feels that he is the person that ignites their offense. He is the one they have to control the most. He said, we haven't played a complete game this year. We hope to do that. I said, are you concerned about a letdown? And he said, no. But then he gave me a kind of nervous smile.
It's interesting. He mentioned to us last night they haven't played a complete game all year. And there's Westbrook, who starts the scratching and clawing process with a nice gain over the left side, where he's run out of bounds by Jason David after a gain of 16 yards. There have been only 6 incomplete passes in the game, 4 by Manning, 2 by Garcia. As you look at the first half numbers, and Indianapolis on a pace to gain 500 yards tonight.
What's Joseph Adai's pace for touchdowns tonight?
A half dozen. That would tie an NFL record and even make LaDainian Tomlinson take notice. And Garcia is going to pack it and get out of bounds. Pushed out by Boyman. And Jeff Garcia, you know, coming into play now with the injury to Donovan McNabb. Not bad, all things considered, in that first half. Nice drive, which resulted in nothing when Akers missed the field goal, but then that 88-yard drive, and he's been doing some pretty effective work.
Right, and he doesn't look rusty at all. I mean, I think when McNabb got hurt last week, he had to come in the game, and that's tough because he doesn't get any practice reps. But this week, he had the whole week of reps to get ready for this game. 2nd and 3,
and in the backfield is Cato June to take down Buckhalter. So Cato June comes blitzing through on the run blitz and takes him down for a loss of about 3.
You know, and that's what speed will do for you. You know, you say they're not very big. You look at Cato June, and he's not a big guy, but when you can penetrate like this and turn down and catch a guy from behind, that will take away a lot what you give away without the big size, if that makes sense.
It does. 3rd down and 5 up at the 42-yard line. Garcia will take this snap in the shotgun. Under pressure, dumps it off underneath, and Westbrook cannot find the room to convert. So they're stopped at the 45-yard line, 4th down and 2.
You see how many blue jerseys were there? I think that's a Tony Dungy defense. You know, we talk about Tampa 2 and all those things, but playing with speed. And when you play with speed, you get everyone to the ball. And they had about 6 or 7 guys in on that tackle, making sure there was no way the Eagles were going to get a first down.
And that's about as animated as Tony gets. With a head set off, Terrence Wilkins to run this kickback. Dirk Johnson to send it up toward the Teflon-coated fiberglass roof, and Wilkins fields at the 6-yard line and brings it back to the 12. Tackled there by Mike Bartram. Peyton Manning limbering up for his first action of the second half. Indy by 17. Sunday Night Football being brought to you by the new 2007 Lincoln Navigator. Lincoln, reach higher. By Clerks 2. Own Clerks 2 on 2-disc DVD November 28th. By Courtyard by Marriott, redesigned by business travelers for business travelers. And by Subway Restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. And that's not quite eating fresh. I mean, that's the leftovers. Joe and Willie in the bus. Still looks pretty good, though.
Well, it was. That was leftovers really from Tuesday night. What we did is I had my son and my grandson, and we had Thanksgiving Tuesday night in Chicago. Then we had leftovers Thursday, and that was leftovers from leftovers yesterday.
This is Joseph Adai, who has picked over the Philadelphia defense tonight like a turkey bone, picking up 6, 2nd down and 4.
And we heard all the talk about the rookie Lawrence Maroney this year, and maybe not as much about Joseph Adai, but he looks like he's a real deal, doesn't he? I mean, he looks like he is going to be a big runner over the years for this Colt team.
2nd and 4. Give it to Adai again. And he is the real deal. Up to the 31-yard line goes the rookie. He's now gone over 100 yards, 111 on a 13-yard gain. Second player in the history of the league with 3 first-half TD runs of 10 or more yards. And Eric Dickerson did it with the '88 Colts. That's good company.
That's great company.
Yeah. Our man ED. First and 10 to the 31.
See, this is a double cadence. He starts a cadence, stops a cadence, starts it all over again.
Quick flip. This goes to Fletcher. And Fletcher is going to play a lot more now with Dallas Clark injured. Picks up a first down up to the 49-yard line. Tackled there by Sean Considine. And that's good for 18 yards.
Right, and Fletcher is playing the position of Dallas Clark because Ben Utek is still the tight end. And you see Fletcher right here, 81. He's the slot guy where Dallas Clark would play. And you see what he does? He starts his cadence again, then stops his cadence because he sees the defense leave their disguise. Then he goes to another audible with another cadence.
The guy tries the short side of the field. And he takes McCoy for a little bit of a ride, turning about a 3-yard gain into more like a 5-yard gain.
And that's what I think Joseph Adai does. I mean, he can take a 3-yard gain and make it a 5-yard gain, and that's what good backs do. I mean, they fall, you hit them, and you think, I got him, and then they have a 5-yard gain.
We're giving him 5.5 on that. Ball at the 45-yard line, second down and 4.
Yeah, the Eagles are back in their nickel defense now. 5 defensive backs.
Manning will throw underneath. Adai is the workhorse. Adai is inside the 30. And Adai takes the ball to the 25-yard line where he's tackled by Sheldon Brown. That's good for 21.
I was just saying, Peyton Manning just mixes things up. If you're going to take away his outside guys and you're going to see those 2 safeties, how deep they are, if you want to play him back there and say, okay, we can't run deep, then you don't have much to go. I mean, you only have 2 linebackers in there. You have 5 defensive backs. Your 2 safeties are real deep. We'll just take the stuff in front. We'll just hit screen passes all night. And short passes. Here's another check.
He's surgical. To the 24. Adai to the 19-yard line. Tackled there by McCoy, and that's 122 yards on the ground for Adai tonight, and 37 more through the air.
Yeah, we were talking about the Eagle defense, and you see here was their nickel package where they had the 5 defensive backs in there, and what the Colts said, well, if you're going to do that, if you're going to play a corner as a strong side linebacker and Sheldon Brown playing there like that, we're just going to run the ball right at you. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, Dallas Clark, as I said, in his first half made some great blocks, but the Colts just really ran against the Eagle nickel and kind of ran them out of it.
Second and 5. Adai, 19-yard line. Again, Joseph with 3 touchdowns tonight as Rod Hood makes the tackle. Coming into the game, Adai had 3 rushing touchdowns all season, plus 1 through the air.
I think he's tired.
Yeah.
he kind of looked longingly towards the sidelines on that one.
Eagles giving up a lot of yardage on the ground. 209 to both Jacksonville and Tennessee. They beat Washington, giving up 146. And tonight, 164, make it 162, 162 rushing yards for Indy and 164 passing, almost perfect balance.
They have Fletcher out there now and Harrison inside.
And they go to Utek.
The 3rd inside guy.
To the 11-yard line, Ben Utek. And that will move the chains.
What they did, they took Brian Fletcher, their other tight end, and split him way out, and then they put Harrison in the slot, and then Utek was a tight end. So this is what they call 3-by-1. You see 2 there. The 3rd guy in was Ben Utek. The call this formation again with 2 tight ends, 3 by 1, 3 receivers on one side and only 1 receiver back on the other side.
2 by 1 here on 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line. The fake to Rhodes. Manning to Wayne. Touchdown. Reggie Wayne, and we've talked about him in the past. If he doesn't play on a team with Marvin Harrison, he's the #1 receiver for more than half the teams in the league.
Yeah, but just the way that he gets everything working together, I mean, he's going to come in there and he's going to take that safety Considine, and he thinks he's going to block him, and then he just runs right by him. And when Peyton Manning sees that, he's going to feast. But the way these guys, these Colt receivers catch the ball, they always have everything in unison, and the feet, the hands, everything working together.
35 career touchdown receptions by Wayne from Manning. Vinatieri the point after. 31-7 Colts. 8 Eastern and Pacific, 7 Central and Mountain, as you look at the Soldiers and Sailors Monument here in Indianapolis.
I tried to walk down there the other night when they were lighting that. There was like 100,000 people. I got caught in people gridlock.
They've done a great job. A lot of people just they come to downtown instead of a lot of towns where they go out of downtown. Reno Mahi to run it back, and now you've got a scrum. And Philadelphia will retain possession with 6.5 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. The RCA Dome. Indy trying to go to 10-1, up by 24. Meanwhile, Philadelphia goes home. They'll meet Carolina next Monday night, and then look at that. At Washington, at the Giants, at Dallas. About as rough as it gets when the schedule came out. First time since the merger. The team plays 3 consecutive division road games. I say as rough as it gets, even though, you know, Washington hasn't played well. The Giants appear to be a little bit of a mess right now. You know about Dallas, but to ask your team to, in December, go on the road and play 3 division games back to back is really rough.
But it's not a very long road. I mean, one of those games was in Washington, and that's about 2 hours away, and the other was in New York, about 2 hours away. So if there's any salvation to it, it's not much of a trip. And the other thing, the way they're playing now, especially on defense, I don't think it makes any difference where they play or who they play when.
I agree with you, John. You go back to 2002 and everybody said, well, you know, McNabb got hurt and A.J. Feely came in and they were 4-1. Yeah, mainly because of their defense. 2nd and 5. Westbrook. And that'll move the chains up to the 41-yard line. And, of course, the talk will start in Philadelphia. What are you going to do in the future? The last game you read, you know, McNabb will come back. He'll miss mini camp and maybe part of training camp. And, you know, what are you going to do with A.J. Feely? And Garcia's 36 years old. And Wayne's not thinking about that as he's pacing the sidelines right here. But that's down the line.
But I think they have to think of another quarterback. And I don't mean Garcia, and I don't mean Feely either. I think, you know, they have Donovan McNabb. You know, he's going to be back, and he's still a very, very good quarterback. But now is the time to get the next quarterback after McNabb.
Draw play, Westbrook. No gain. Last week, McNabb got hurt, and it was such an innocuous-looking play. You go back to 2002, he had the fractured ankle, but he did come back. They were 5-1 without him. Sports hernia ended his season last year at the end of November. Then the torn knee ligament last week, the ACL, and Andrea reporting that if the swelling goes down, he may have surgery in Alabama as early as Tuesday. But it was one of those plays where you saw it and you went, well, you know, no big deal. And the next thing you know, the cart's out on the field. On 2nd and 10, catch was made here by L.J. Smith.
I will say this, though, he wouldn't help with this team tonight unless he played defense.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I mean, the Eagles, you know, John, it's funny how things work. They got off to a good start this year. Remember, they had that one excruciating loss to the Giants, but then they were 4-1, and then they were beaten by a 62-yard field goal by Matt Bryant. And that's when this recent slide really started.
And the most disappointing thing about this Eagle team to me is how poorly their defense is playing.
3rd down and 7, and that's caught. They'll move the chains here, and that's Greg Lewis. So the question I have, John, is, for years they've been so good defensively. They've had some injuries, but Jim Johnson is still there. The system's always been really good. So what's the nub of the problem defensively right now?
Well, they don't have any pass rush. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they go to nickel. I think the linebackers and secondary catch too much. I don't think they're attacking the line of scrimmage, and obviously they haven't attacked Peyton Manning at all tonight.
And one big reason for that is the loss of Javon Curse the 2nd week of the season.
And their tackling's lousy.
Yep. Indy's tackling not particularly good there either, as Westbrook goes through the middle to the 26-yard line with a little more than 3 minutes to play in the 3rd.
Westbrooks is a player. I mean, he's something that, I mean, he can run it, as I was saying earlier, he can run it inside, he can run it outside. He gets a good block by his guard and his center there, and Brian Westbrook is a guy that has the whole game. And and then you can split him out, you can play him in a slot, you can play him as a wide receiver, and I mean, he is definitely the best player in this Eagle team.
Now Correll Buckholzer comes in. He takes it to the 25. Westbrook needs only one more rushing yard to reach 100, and when he does that, as he comes back into the game, he will be the first Eagle in 25 years to rush for 100 yards in each of 3 consecutive games, the last being Wilbert Montgomery.
And they always say the Eagles need a running game, and they, their pass rush is about 60 pass, 40% rush, and I mean, that's Andy Reid, and that's his offense, and that's what they are and who they are. But I still think that they need a big banger back.
Split backs here on 2nd and 8. Garcia flushed out, looking, throwing, and he's lucky that one wasn't intercepted. Rocky Boyman had an early Christmas gift and couldn't hang on.
I think he was going to Brian Westbrook there, and he fell down. That's one of those that you see a receiver and you got that ball, and the ball, watch it here, the ball is coming out, and the receiver that you throw it to goes down. That could have been making a tackler out of you.
Now it's 3rd down and 8. Less than 2 minutes to play in the 3rd. 3 wideouts against the nickel defense, and that's a 1st down as they convert. Hank Baskett makes the catch, the 6'4", 220-pound rookie out of the University of New Mexico.
Jeff Garcia does get back there and get that ball out of there. We're going to see right here, it's just an in. He just kind of runs and just finds that hole. The Colts were in their nickel defense playing a zone. Hank Baskett just got right in the middle of that zone, and Jeff Garcia made a great read and put some zip on that ball.
1st and goal. There goes Westbrook over 100 yards. Bryant to the 3, following Thomas Tepe, the fullback. It'll be 2nd down and goal.
You talk about Westbrook and how he can do everything, and you'd think a guy that small wouldn't run inside, but he does a good job inside. But talking about a good job, watch the left guard there. Harriman's, what he does is he starts on a double and then gets up on that next level and gets a linebacker. Andy Reid really likes Todd Harriman.
2nd and goal, and that pass is caught for a touchdown by Reggie Brown. On the slant from Garcia, Reggie Brown gets it into the end zone, and after the extra point, the deficit is back to 17.
You say, what can Jeff Garcia do? This is what he can do. He can throw a slant. He can get back 1, 2, 3, zip that thing right in there. I mean, he throws a slant, and he has over the years. He throws this pass as well as anyone because he gets it back, gets that ball up there, and it's ready to go the moment that receiver gets a step on the defender.
Terrell Owens knows that as well as anybody, the 2 of them together in San Francisco, with Owens turning a lot of those slants into 60-yard gains. Akers for the point after. Brown has just caught his 6th touchdown pass of the season. 43 ticks left in the 3rd quarter. 31-14 Colts. Property Group here in downtown Indianapolis. It's the way you should be doing your shopping, John. In about 4 minutes.
Boom, 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 boom. All done.
In and out.
That's it.
Kickoff fielded a yard into the end zone by Terrence Wilkins. To the 28-yard line. Whoa, I gotta call Keith Jackson to find out what kind of a moon that is. Quasi-crescent, perhaps. A Dome in Indianapolis. Colts on top 31-14 as the third quarter winds down. Reggie Brown has just scored for Philadelphia. 17-point Indy lead as they start to stride from the 28-yard line.
There's that double cadence.
Dominique Rhodes threads his way to the 32. We go to Andrea.
Well, Al, I heard you say, what's up with Dallas Clark? And what we're told by the Colts is that he has a sprained right knee. We certainly know, as Tony Dungy told me coming out at halftime, that he's out for the game. And we'll see whether there's an MRI or x-rays forthcoming.
All right, but still, compared to the way it looked initially, we were stunned that he was able to get up and walk off pretty much under his own power as the period comes to an end. We played 45 minutes here in central Indiana. Colts trying to go to 10-1 on top, 31-14 over the Eagles. Fourth quarter about to begin in Indianapolis. Al Michaels with John Madden and Andrea Kramer. Colts have led all the way. Got out to a 21-0 lead. It's now 31-14. And as the fourth quarter begins, it's 2nd down and 6 for Indy from its own 32-yard line. Manning has hit 7 different receivers tonight, but Marvin Harrison, split to the right, has caught just 1 pass. Reggie Wayne 4 for 77 yards. Manning, after taking the play clock all the way down, gives it to Rhodes on a delay for no gain. Manning, a touchdown pass plus tonight. Highest percentage of games throwing at least 1 TD. Well, Dan Marino would rank 3rd, 84% of his games. Brett Favre, 85%. For Peyton Manning, who started in his first game as a rookie in 1998, 88%. In only 16 of 139 games has he not thrown a touchdown pass.
Well, the Eagles have Trent Cole and Darren Howard in there now, the pass rushers, and I was wondering why they haven't been in there, but they haven't been doing much either. I mean, those 2 defensive ends, they're going to put pressure on. It has to come from them.
And on 3rd and 6, that pass is thrown at the feet of Adai, and in comes Hunter Smith.
And that time, I think it was Trent Cole did get a little pressure on him, and that's what they've been missing all night. I mean, Peyton Manning has just been standing back there, having his way, throwing short, throwing deep, throwing anywhere, and they haven't gotten any pass rush on him, and they haven't knocked him down.
Reno Mahe will run it back. Hunter Smith. Mahe will field to the 7. Tackled at the 10. Chris Collinsworth, the king of all media, as busy as anybody in the business of late, standing by in our studio in New York. We'll check in with Chris when we come back to Indianapolis. Remote back in New York, and there's Dallas Clark and Civvies. And again, Andrea reported.
Look at those things to the left of him, though. That's not a good look.
Yeah.
Crutches.
Sprained knee. And on 1st down, this is Westbrook. Chris Collinsworth in New York. Been a big day, of course. A lot of crazy stuff in the NFL. Chris, you did the Denver game the other night on the NFL Network with Brian Gumbel. So what's going to happen in Denver? We have next week on Sunday night. Is Plummer going to play, or is Cutler going to play in your mind?
I think it's going to be Jay Cutler, and really the story from there is that this kid Jay Cutler was just so good in practice they couldn't keep him out anymore. He kept making throws during the course of the practices, and all the players and coaches kept looking over at Shanahan like, when are you going to get this kid in the game? Those kind of things. And so finally, it just, I think he made the move. The feeling was that they weren't going to go to the Super Bowl as long as Plummer was the quarterback. Take a shot with Cutler. Maybe he's the next Tony Romo. Who knows?
Westbrook just got dumped by McFarland. You know, John and I have talked about this. We talked to Tony Dungy last night. He was putting himself in Mike Shanahan's shoes and said that is really a tough call. I mean, you're a 7-4 team. It's not like you're 2-9, and you got a chance to go to the playoffs, and the guy's never taken a snap.
Well, and plus the guys that have had success, the Tony Romo, the Phillip Rivers, those guys were guys that sat on the bench for a couple years and then came in. But now all of a sudden you're asking somebody in their rookie season without much practice, certainly since the preseason and training camp, to all of a sudden come in and try and save your season. But the one thing about him is that he can make throws from the pocket. And with Jake Plummer, when the running game's not going well, and it hasn't been going well for the Denver Broncos, you're forcing him to make throws from the pocket, and that's simply not what he does best.
Garcia just threw that one from the pocket, and Stallworth couldn't make the catch. And so it is 4th down, 3 and out, deep in Philadelphia territory. Dirk Johnson will send it down toward Wilkins, who's going to let it bounce, and it will bounce out of bounds at the 48. Check in with Chris again when we come back on the other side of the break. Talk about a couple of other things. We got a flag here before we go to that break. Bill Carollo. One thing about the flex schedule, you can get a referee 2 weeks in a row. We got him last week, and then he was assigned to this game before it was flexed in.
And one thing you know about Bill Carollo is what?
He never overturns a call.
So you could say that this one is going to stand.
Right.
This play will stand.
It's been over a year since he's overturned a call. He had one challenge tonight. He got it right.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 34, after the play was over. 15-yard penalty. Receivers will keep the ball. First down, timeout.
TJ rushing. Okay. Now some commerce. Back after this. It's up by 17 as the scores will go by if you missed them today. Jets winning, but the Giants, of course, losing in a stunner at Tennessee. 1st and 10 here at the 36-yard line for the Indianapolis Colts. Peyton Manning. Play fake, throws it over the middle. That's incomplete, and Fletcher was the intended receiver, and then a flag just for frustration. There was no flag for interference, but the Philadelphia defender picking up the ball and just firing it. It was Brian Dawkins. And
I think that's the old delay a game thing.
Yep.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact, 51, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
I beg your pardon. That flag came out very late. Matt McCoy. I thought they were going to flag Dawkins for spiking it, but they didn't. John, we were talking to Chris Collinsworth. Next week we have Denver. I mean, you're a coach. You can put yourself in those shoes. What do you do? 7-4? Do you go with the kid who hasn't played, or do you go with the veteran?
I would probably go with the veteran. I think that, you know, like Tony Dungy was saying last night when we talked about it, that, you know, it's so easy to say that this guy that hasn't played yet can come in and play. Now, Tony Romo, to me, was a different situation. I mean, he'd been there for 3-4 years and knew the system. Jake Cutler, you know, is just in there. And he's going to be the quarterback of the future, but I don't know that you have to do it right now. I mean, I think there's a lot more wrong with the Denver Broncos than with Jake Plummer.
Again, this is all speculation because Mike Shanahan has not announced who the quarterback will be at this point, as Adai takes it for a couple. We see Peyton Manning tonight. You know what happened to Eli Manning today, the 21-0 lead. And Tom Coughlin, in his post-game press conference, talked about this.
We had many opportunities, and we left, again, many plays on the field. We can't, there's no way you can throw an interception under that circumstance at the end of the game. There's no way. I mean, if you're rolling and you don't like what you see, throw it out of bounds. We can always go ahead and, you know, go to overtime. Don't turn the ball over.
2nd and 5. And that is picked off. It is picked off by Shepard, and Lito Shepard with the interception off a deflection, and Manning looking downfield as if, wasn't that an incomplete pass? Let's take a look at this again. Well, you've got Marvin Harrison, and the ball is simply taken away by Lito Shepherd. So Marvin, very sure-handed, fumbled last week, and then that is a complete pilfer job.
Right, because Marvin Harrison wasn't down. There was anything. I mean, he was still up. There was nothing hit the ground. Lito Shepherd just jumped in there and took the ball away from him.
I mean, Willie Sutton never had a better heist than that. The ball is at the 27-yard line, first down. And that's a 2-yard gain as Dwight Freeney makes the tackle here on Brian Westbrook. So a little life left in the Philadelphia Eagles.
Now Marvin Harrison, you look at him and you say, well, Marvin Harrison is upset. He hasn't caught any passes. You know, he just had the ball taken away from him. He's down here pouting. Marvin Harrison always sits by himself at the end of the bench and has that same look, whether he's caught no passes or 5 touchdown passes. That's his seat on the bench. Always is. That look is his look and is always the same.
Sits down there with the kickers. You saw Smith and Vinatieri. 2nd down and 8. Play fake. Garcia throws over the middle, and that is caught by Buckhalter. Breaking tackles. He takes it to the 5, and all of a sudden the Philadelphia Eagles on a 1st and goal and a chance to make it a 10-point game.
You know, and that's what Andy Reid thought that he could do against that Colts defense is if they want to play zone, he can use his backs right up the middle. You know, just use them right there and hit that behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. Now, if they were going to play man, he would split his backs out.
This is Westbrook diving into the end zone. So all of a sudden, as you were ready to turn the light out, we have a game.
Well, and that's the thing about the National Football League. I mean, that's, you know, a well-coached team will always stay in a game. I mean, they don't have a heck of a lot going, but they will always stay in the game. Watch a right guard here, Sean Andrews. He gets 1 there, boom, he gets 2 there, and then that lets Westbrook bounce to the outside. Sean Andrews is going to be a dominant offensive lineman in this league. I really believe that.
The big kid, the self-proclaimed. Akers for the point after now. And the Philadelphia Eagles have fought their way back to within 10. 31-21, 10-13 left in the 4th. On NFL.com, sign up for the Fan Challenge. Jeff Garcia, 19 of 23 tonight, 140 yards, 2 touchdown passes. Westbrook has just run one in, and it's a 10-point game.
You know, and that's Jeff Garcia. I mean, he's going to get you the completions. He's not going to just get them in big chunks.
Akers kicking off. Wilkins at the goal line. Ride him down at the 27-yard line. Indy will get the ball. Should see a little bit of Joseph Adai here tonight. The rookie with 127 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. On Madden, Andrea Kramer, Indianapolis, where the Colts all of a sudden now face a fairly important drive with Philadelphia trying to scratch and claw back into it at 31-21 from the 27-yard line. Peyton Manning on 1st down hands the ball off to Dominique Rhodes. You've got a flag coming in. Normally holding would be the call, and it will be as it comes in from the umpire.
You know, the Eagles are still in their nickel defense, or are in the nickel defense now on 1st down, but now the difference is they're attacking the line of scrimmage.
98 defense, 5-yard penalty from the end of the run, automatic 1st down.
Mike Patterson, let's go to Andrea.
Well, with the game tightening up just a little bit, you probably know that Peyton Manning would prefer to have Dallas Clark in the game as opposed to sitting behind me on the bench. But word is that the x-ray on his right knee was negative, but he is scheduled for an MRI tomorrow.
And Indianapolis will next play next Sunday at Tennessee. Then they go to Jacksonville before coming home to face Cincinnati on the 18th. Rhodes stopped by Patterson.
You know, one thing about Peyton Manning, he has great mechanics, and they're the same all the time. And if you just watch him enough, and you watch him in practice, and you watch him on film, you know, he's always up on his toes. He's always bouncing. And when he throws the ball, he leads. You'll see it right here. He leads right here with a 6-inch stride towards the way he's throwing. Then his right foot whips up and comes around. He said he learned that by watching Nolan Ryan. He said that his throw and his follow through and that foot coming up and the torque is just like Nolan Ryan.
2nd and 7. Draw. Rhodes to the 47 and the first down. I keep thinking of a horse player, John. A horse player goes out to the racetrack, and in the post parade when the horses are out there, if a horse is up on his toes, that's the horse you want to bet on, you know, because that horse is normally full of life, and you see Manning back there, and he's up on his toes.
I think that's the horse you always want to bet on,
that
too.
Colt,
you
that
say,
Colt.
Yeah, what horse do you want to bet on in this race? Give me that one that's wearing 1-8 on his back. It's all, you know, it's a 6-inch stride. I mean, he doesn't want to, you know, ever stride any longer than that, and then torque and whip that right leg around.
Under 8.5 remaining. Rhodes to the 50-yard line. Nice little 1-2 punch, of course. Adai, the rookie, 16 carries tonight. Rhodes, 14 carries tonight. So they've been balanced air and ground, and balanced on the ground alone as you look at Adai.
And running is a lot easier now in this part of the game. Each quarter, running becomes easier when you have the lead.
Tarek Glenn a little slow in getting up, but he'll walk off. Injury timeout. Game report coming your way. We'll have the rock star of the game highlights and interviews coming up right after this contest. As we look at the GE building, Midtown Manhattan. The Indianapolis Colts right now 2nd and 7, and with Tarek Glenn coming out of the game, at least for one play. Dean is already out. Charlie Johnson's seen a lot of action tonight. It's 2nd down and 7 from the 50-yard line. Rhodes over that left side, normally occupied by Glenn, and that's a gain of about 6, setting up a 3rd and 1.
Yeah, they moved Charlie Johnson over to that side. Then they took their right guard, Jake Scott, and moved him to right tackle. And then they put in Dylan Gandy at right guard.
Now Glenn comes back in. Third and 1 at the 44. Klecko is in the game. They use Joe's younger son as the fullback here in this set. They bring a die back in here in short yardage, and they give it to the rookie. Gets a nice block from Klecko, and that's enough for a first down to the 41. Before that Philadelphia touchdown, we were talking about the Giants. We showed you that Tom Coughlin clip. And you look at the New York Giants, and Chris will bring you back in for a second. You think the headline writers in the tabloids in New York are having a little fun tonight? I mean, can you imagine what it's going to look like in the papers tomorrow there?
Oh, it's going to be ugly. I mean, for Eli Manning, can it get any uglier than what it's going to be? I mean, he just threw an awful interception at the end of that game, but maybe Matthias Kiwanuka with a bigger headline. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but with Vince Young, he just had him wrapped up, thought the ball was already thrown, and simply let him go on a 4th down play that basically cost the Giants a football game.
And of course, when you look ahead, John, you know, next week the Giants have Dallas, so I mean, that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, and they're under such a microscope there. You know that anyone that tells the truth, you know, when Tiki Barber says, you know, we're running team, we have to run the ball. I agreed with Tiki. I mean, I said the same thing before. You know, with Tom Coughlin, I mean, there are certain things that you have to throw the ball away. You can't, you know, I don't know what's so bad about that. It's just, you know, a player telling the truth, a coach telling the truth.
But do you want the player telling the truth to the media?
I wouldn't care if it's the truth.
2nd down and 8.
Because I think the coach probably said the same thing.
A die.
And then Manning will probably say the same thing. Well, he'd like to trade places with his brother, though.
Yeah, well, Peyton is trying to avoid each Manning brother coughing up a 21-point lead because Eli's already done it today, and the Giants, of course. And in this game, it was a 21-point margin, which all of a sudden became 10.
Yeah, and that's a one thing. You know, you say, what is the thing that can really bite this Colt offense? And I think the only thing, the one thing, and the only thing is turnovers.
3rd and 3 from inside the 35. Adai. Well, this is clinical now. Manning running the clock down, using the clock, picking up first downs. You know, John, we've been around Peyton Manning a lot through the years, and it's one of those things where if you're around football and you know the guy, and I know a lot of coaches feel this way, the one thing I think anybody who knows him and has watched this game and understands what's going on here, I don't want his career to end with a yeah but. I mean, at some point you don't want to see the yeah but here.
Yeah, but he never won a Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to. I mean, I think that this can very well be, this year can very well be a Super Bowl year for the Colts.
29-yard line. Adai, and he's to the 15-yard line. The AFC, the Colts right now are the #1 seed. They have the best record in the league. The Bears are now 9-2, and the Colts, with a win tonight, would go to 10-1. New England, Baltimore right now would be the 2nd seed, even though San Diego is also 9-2 because Baltimore beat San Diego head-to-head. And then the wild cards at the moment both come out of the West, Kansas City and Denver. Cincinnati, the Jets, and Jacksonville at 6-5 are on the bubble. And so as we head into December, a lot of mystery. So, Chris, what do you think in terms of the AFC right now? You know, you've got these 3 teams. You got Indy, you got San Diego, and Baltimore. Which is the best in your mind at the moment?
Baltimore Ravens. And if you'd have seen the game today, you would have said the same thing. 9 sacks today against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense is just overwhelming. And offensively, they do just enough. And since Brian Billick took over the play calling, 5-0, they keep it pretty simple. They're going to hand it off, play action off of that. But with that defense and the way they can just pound it at you, I think they're the best team right now.
I don't think so. I would take this team right here, and I would take this offensive team against the Ravens defense. I mean, I think that they just have too many weapons.
I might take San Diego.
Eventually it's going to turn into a it is going to turn into a fist fight at some point.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with a good fist fight, but you know that's the thing. It's who makes a move from Thanksgiving on. You know, I always said you position yourself to Thanksgiving and then you make the run from Thanksgiving on.
Philly just took a timeout to try to conserve some of the clock, but it's not going to matter the way this running game is going right now with Adai.
That's what I like. You know, when I talk about the Colts, and it's not all Peyton Manning. I mean, the way Joseph Adai is developing this year, I think that's a big thing on them making a run because, you know, if he can keep doing this, I mean, this is a good offensive line, and they really protect Peyton, and they get credit for that, but it's also a good run blocking line.
You know, we were talking about Manning, and just to finish up on that, John, in terms of 9th year in the league, there is nobody, I've never met anybody more prepared, no athlete who prepares more than this guy does. He's amazing. He knows everything that's going on around him. He is relentless. And you know, the funny thing, and now we reached the point, John, where coaches want to listen to Manning talk to them.
Yeah, and I always enjoy listening to Peyton Manning, and I always learn something from him. But you know, the thing we always talk about, Brett Favre as a quarterback being an Iron Man, and he is, but this guy is too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, see these other quarterbacks that come and go and they get injured. It's not their fault when they get injured, but why doesn't this guy ever get injured?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Brett Favre ever get injured?
Well, one reason is he takes a timeout as he prepares so well. You almost never catch him not knowing where the pressure is coming from. He's always is able to keep it out in front of him.
Yeah, he always knows that, and that's when you really do get hurt as a quarterback, is when you get a hit that you don't see. You know, I mean, if you know it's coming and if you can see it, you can do something about it. But it's that one that you don't see that really gets you.
Chris, you've been around him. Your thoughts on Peyton?
You know, I think the most remarkable thing about him is the way that they practice. I mean, when you go out and you watch the Colts practice, they run more plays before they get to calisthenics than most teams run during the entire practice. You know, he takes them off there, and as part of the way that they warm up, they go through all the no-huddle stuff, and he's going through all the signals, and you wonder why they're so much farther ahead than the defenses that they're facing. Well, they practice about twice as much, and mentally, he's smarter than most coaches I know out there, and he's on the field, and the other guys are trying to play catch-up to him, and they're sitting on the sideline, and it's just almost impossible.
2nd and 2, and Adai will take it inside the 5 to make it 1st and goal. I mean, there's no question Tony Dungy feels it, and Tom Moore feels it, and anybody who works with they feel blessed to be able to coach a guy like this.
Well, you know what he does was there at practice on Friday, and they let him run the practice. You know what he wants to do? He calls it his dog and pony show, and he calls the plays, and you know he wants to run the passes, he wants to throw, all those types of things, and that's before practice. He said he has learned one thing though. I remember when the defense used to go practice, he would always take like Marvin or something and go down and throw some. He doesn't do that anymore. And he said that he finally realized that every time he wanted to throw a corner pass, someone had to run it. He said he was just killing his wide receivers. So he has cut back on that a little.
Hey, John, I was wondering if you bought into this whole thing about the 3-4 defense and it being the Achilles heel, if you will, for Peyton Manning. I mean, we saw it again last week with the Dallas Cowboys. We saw it with the San Diego Chargers last year. We saw it with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It just seems like that backside pressure, if there's anything that gets to them, it's the 3-4 and that backside pressure.
Yeah, I do buy that into that, you know, if you have the right rushers, because that's what you have to do. You have to get them out of rhythm. You have to knock them down. And the 3-4 defenses have a better opportunity to get a free rusher on them than the 4-3.
Can Adai get his 4th touchdown? He can. Joseph Adai just tying a franchise record for touchdowns in the game. Lenny Moore, Lydell Mitchell, and Eric Dickerson. 3 Colts with 4 touchdowns, and there's your 4th. And for a guy who had 3 rushing touchdowns coming into the game, 4 tonight, and that will cement it.
Right, and that is big, because you just can't come in here and say we have to rush Peyton and we have to, you know, cover Reggie Wayne and we have to cover Marvin Harrison. You better do a lot more. I mean, you better count for Joseph Adai, and you better count for, you know, I was talking about how the guys block, you know, what they do in this offensive line is not only a good pass protecting line, but a very good run blocking line and smart line. You know, I mean, Tariq Glenn starts, he sees that guy go outside, he just turns and just smothers the linebacker. Where old Mike McCoy had no idea where that came from. You talk about that moon, that crescent moon. Mike McCoy thought that crescent moon just covered him.
Tariq Glenn was that crescent moon. Right?
I think that's where you put the man.
Well, so Manning, after Philadelphia shows life, gets back in the game following the interception, the touchdown drive. Manning, as we say, the coolest guy in the room, not only leads them down the field, but takes 6.5 minutes off the clock along the way and makes Philadelphia use all of its timeouts. Case closed. You
know, and again, you know, we go back to the no huddle, and Tom Moore gives them plays. He gives them 2 runs and 1 pass. So in essence, he's really calling the plays out there, because Tom Moore will tell him, I'm going to give you 3, 2 runs, 1 pass. If you don't like them, then call what you do like. And that's where the old dog and pony show and the, you know, practice and stuff that Chris was just talking about comes in.
Tom, why do you think the Philadelphia Eagles have struggled so much stopping the run this year? I mean, they keep drafting defensive linemen, and yet, for whatever reason, it's just not working this year.
Yeah, they haven't gotten the tackles. The tackles can't hang in there and make plays, and the linebackers aren't filling, and they don't have their fits down. I mean, the linemen are getting blocked and the linebackers are standing back, and there's just holes that go, you know, straight ahead and holes that go sideways.
Adai with 171 rushing yards tonight, 37 yards in receptions. Chris, have a nice flight. We're letting you go. I just talked to Ebersol.
Thank you, guys.
He said you're done at 11:11 Eastern.
When the man says I'm done, I am done.
See you later. Now you can take off that tie. Isn't that something about television, though? You know, we all wear neckties and stuff, and the first thing when it's over, first thing comes off is that necktie.
Absolutely. And on goes a sweatshirt. From the 20, Garcia gets hit as he throws, and it's a loose ball, and it's picked up by Kelvin Hayden, and for the moment, it's going to be a touchdown.
Dwight Freeney should get credit for it. Kind of been quiet. They haven't been getting the pressure on Jeff Garcia, but Dwight Freeney got him that time.
And you know what? They don't have a timeout, so they couldn't even challenge it if they wanted to. Because you have to have a timeout to be able to challenge. Now, is the arm coming forward is the question.
Here's Freeney coming from his right side, and it was Mathis that hit his arm. I mean, those are the two defensive ends putting on the pressure. Mathis starting on the left side, Freeney starting on the right side. Freeney on a spinner there. He goes right inside of William Thomas, and he hits him, but it was Robert Mathis who hit him first.
I think the ruling on the field would have been upheld because...
Timeout, Indianapolis. That's a team second charge timeout.
Indy takes a timeout. It would have been upheld because the arm was coming forward, but it was after the ball was already out. The ball is knocked loose.
Yeah, the ball's
then
out there.
He has it again, right? And then he's just kind of punching at it. That doesn't count.
The ball was out, and then as he was following through, he hit the ball.
Right.
So that was the empty hand rule, slapping the ball after an empty hand. Is that what you're telling me?
That would be the empty hand slapping the
right.
Yeah,
the ball. After it became an empty hand.
I'm buying into it. But you know, it points up an interesting thing in a tight game. You have to have a timeout left to challenge.
Right, and it's in this period here. See, when there's 3 minutes 25 seconds, because we know in the last 2 minutes, then upstairs does the
reverts. Right. You get two challenges. They already lost one, but they still had one left, but no timeouts. The Eagle family this week, of course, is mourning the loss of Andre Waters, dying of a self-inflicted wound in Florida this week, and he was about as tough as they came. Strong safety for the Philadelphia Eagles, very popular man in Philadelphia, not particularly popular around the rest of the NFL because he played so rough and tough, but he certainly left a mark with the Eagles, and they are mourning his passing this week.
Right, Andre Waters was always one of my favorite players. I mean, he's one of those guys that if he's on your side, he's a tough guy. If he's, on the other side, he's a dirty guy. But I always thought, as tough as he was on the field, he was as calm and as gentle off the field.
Yep.
And, I just saw him just a year ago. They had a thing in Philadelphia for Reggie White, honoring the late Reggie White, and Andre was there. And it was just about a year ago at this time. And, he seemed like, he was pretty happy with everything. And when this happened, I was shocked, as all his teammates were and all Philadelphia were.
You've gotten into coaching, and you saw A.J. Feely loosening up on the Philadelphia sideline. Mahe. And they bring it back out to the 15-yard line. Darrell Reed makes the tackle. We go back to the Rockies next Sunday night when the Seattle Seahawks, and they'll get Matt Hasselbeck back. Sean Alexander's already back. They play Green Bay tomorrow night, and they'll go into Denver to face the Broncos at a very critical juncture for the Denver Broncos.
And you think the Bronco quarterback will be Jay Cutler, huh?
From everything I am hearing, I think it'll be Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know officially. The speculation is it will be Jay Cutler.
And then how Jay Cutler plays, if he does start, we're all going to find out at the same time when we watch it.
Right. Westbrook with Feely in the game. I just think, if you make that move, among the things Mike Shanahan has to think about in making that move too, is you make that move, you don't go back. I mean, if Cutler has a terrible game, you don't tell Plummer the next week, hey, you're my quarterback again.
Well, at least he has 10 days. I mean, they had the Thanksgiving and then, that time to get him ready, because I watched him practice just last week and he didn't get any reps with the offense. I mean, he ran the scout team and I mean, he looked pretty good. He has a live arm. I'll tell you that. I mean, when that ball comes out of there, it has mustard on it.
And he was a sensation in preseason. And this is action from the Broncos preseason, which of course doesn't bear very much semblance to the regular season, but at least it gives you an idea of the type of thing you might get from a player.
That's the way offensive linemen talk to each other right there, Al, when the defense is on the field. They don't even watch.
3rd and 3. And that's Thomas DePay taken down in the open field by Kelvin Hayden.
Peyton Manning was saying the other day that he's learned not to watch the defense anymore. He said, because he has a high motor, and he was always up there, and it'd be 3rd down, and he would basically, come on, stop him, let's get the ball, and all that stuff, like a cheerleader. And then when they didn't, he'd have to go sit down again. He said now he just sits like we just saw him there until someone says, okay, offense up. Then he gets up, doesn't even watch the defense.
4th and 2, they try to convert and do. Basket makes the catch, and we'll go down to the 2-minute warning with Feely, who was an Eagle, was the 3rd-string quarterback in 02, and McNabb got hurt. Then Coy Detmer got hurt. He led him to a 4-1 mark, but got traded to Miami, got traded to San Diego, and winds up back in Philadelphia. 2 minutes to go as the Colts are 120 seconds away from going to 10-1.
History all around running back.
LaDainian Tomlinson could do it all.
In the game today.
It's all about each other tonight, man.
Next week, another mile-high showdown. Another record-setting rusher. Better luck this time, Broncos, as flex time hits crunch time. Sunday Night Football.
And Peyton Manning has had a pretty nice time this season on Sunday Night Football. Started with our first Sunday night game against his brother and the Giants. They won that one. Went to New England and won that one. And they're winning this one. Take a look at the NFC playoff picture right now. The Bears, despite that loss today, still with the best record, 2 games in front, in fact, of Dallas leading in the East, New Orleans in the South. Seattle 6-4 with their game against Green Bay tomorrow. And then at the moment, the Giants, despite those 3 consecutive losses in Carolina, would be the wild cards, and then a whole bunch of teams.
I'll tell you, after watching Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, I don't know anyone in the conference that's playing better than the Cowboys.
Yeah, not at the moment.
And especially their defense. I mean, I mean, that's a Bill Parcells team when you play defense like that. I don't know that they have a Bill Parcells running game yet, but they have a Bill Parcells defense now.
I remember you saying that in preseason, that you thought that the Cowboy defense might be the best defense in the league.
Right, and it was the most impressive thing that I had seen in preseason was the Cowboy defense.
79, defense, entering the neutral zone, creating a false start. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
Raheem Brock.
And and the thing, it was lost in translation because all they were talking about was Terrell Owens and what he was doing and riding the bike and all that stuff. And I said, quietly, this team has built a heck of a defense.
Feely. Well, we talked about it in that Carolina game, a Sunday night game at the end of October. And remember, we were mentioning that you don't want to overstate things, but if there was a season-saving game, that was it, because Dallas was down 14-0. Romo's making the start. They win the game, and off they go.
Yeah, and they put him in, and he just lifted everything. I mean, he lifted the offense, the defense, the coaching staff, cheerleaders, the owner, PR guy, everything. We got whistles blowing all over.
Well, you had
nice
Mathis. The play was over. Cato June involved there, and you've got you've got Feely going down. And they are going to rule this a turnover here.
You're going to see Robert Mathis here with another strip. We saw him the one on Jeff Garcia, and then we're going to see him get this one. You see how he dips that right shoulder to get underneath John Runyon? And then he takes his left hand and knocks the ball right out of Feely's hands. Here it is again. Watch right here. Now watch the dip. You see how that shoulder goes down and then comes up again. Then he uses his off arm to knock the ball out of A.J. Feely's hands.
Andy Reid with a lot to think about. Tony Dungy knows that his team is 10-1. 2 games on the road now, both in the division, Tennessee and Jacksonville over the next 2 weeks. Andy goes home to meet Carolina. 239 rushing yards tonight for the Colts. Adai 171 yards, Rhodes 68, Adai with 4 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, Manning with just 183 yards through the air and 70% completion rate. And the Indianapolis Colts win it by a score of 45-21. The Sirius Satellite Radio postgame report coming your way as you take a look at the Empire State Building in New York. And we'll come back to Indianapolis, Indiana after these messages from your local NBC station.